Cancer Drugs Fund is a special fund set up to give cancer patients access to the new, the best, the most innovative drugs that would make a difference to them. But these drugs, because they're new, haven't necessarily gone through the system yet and haven't necessarily had enough time to prove their full effectiveness under the NICE guidelines. What the Cancer Drugs Fund's done in case of bowel cancer is, as of January last year, has helped over 15,000 bowel cancer patients get treatments that they otherwise wouldn't have had.
I think what we've seen on a day-to-day level in the last 10, 15, even 20 years is that with the introduction of these newer targeted agents, we can make a real difference to patients. We see that from clinical trial data, but even just on a day-to-day level, the fact is you can institute these treatments, and when you can do that, you are much more likely to be able to say to the patient, your disease is under control, and you're much more likely to be able to say to the patient, we can extend your life, we can make a real difference here. And on many occasions, particularly with the targeted therapies, you're talking about achieving those objectives for the patient with minimal effects in terms of side effects of treatment. So, real step forward, I think. I think our concern about this transition from cancer drugs funds to NICE is simply, put it very basically, the availability of these drugs. There has been a time in the past when we've looked at a particular subtype of breast cancer, frowned quite a lot and thought, what can we do for this patient? And actually with some of the agents that we've got out there now, we know we can actually do a great deal. And I think we're all very concerned and anxious that system, those treatments that we've got used to, those treatments that we have an expectation of, very much obviously on behalf of the patients, if those are no longer available, I think that is going to make our job very difficult, knowing that there are things out there that could be helpful, that we've had experience of, and now if we don't have that availability, I think that is going to be a real shame. I'm just hoping that in some way we can move this whole thing forward and make sure that these agents are still out there for patients.
Roche have always cared about this debate, and I think it's really important to realise that we're reaching the point now where patients may actually not be able to gain access to the medicines that we've developed over the past decades. It's getting to the point where we could be returning to 2010, where the UK was one of the worst performers in Europe in terms of getting access to these cancer drugs.
I think it's for everybody, the pharmaceutical companies, NHS England, NICE, Department of Health and the Cancer Drugs Fund, and health charities like Beating Bowel Cancer, to get round a table and thrash out a new system. I know that pharma companies need to be kept under pressure to keep their prices low. I know that the deals that are being done need to go on being done to reduce the price of new drugs. I personally think pharma companies should be paying by results for their new drugs, but that's something we should be negotiating openly and transparently. What we must do is recognise the Cancer Drugs Fund, as it will operate in the future, is a backward step, will harm patients, will lead to shortened lives.
We're willing to move, we're willing to come to the table, willing to compromise our business in some terms to get the right access for patients. Government cannot simply sit there and say, you've all got to move, but we're not moving anywhere.
The new approach under the Cancer Drugs Fund is a retrograde step. It's based on a fundamentally flawed approach to assessing the value and the effectiveness of cancer drugs. It doesn't reflect the science of cancer, which treats individual cancers. It treats my cancer, not all cancers. The new Cancer Drugs Fund will not give patients access to new drugs as they need them, when they need them. It will also change the relationship with their clinician, their doctor, who will basically not be able to outline all treatment options to them in the future. My question is, if you were diagnosed in the first half of this year, you would get the drug. If you're diagnosed in the second half of this year, you might not get the drugs, which would make a difference. What's changed? Why is that fairer? And what is wrong with actually giving patients access to new treatments in order to extend their life and give them better hope?
We at Roche are very, very lucky, and we've worked really hard to have a fantastic pipeline of new cancer medicines coming down our pipeline that we will be launching in the future. What worries us, what really concerns us, and not just not just Roche, but the whole clinical community and the patient community, is that in the UK, these medicines may never see the light of day. They may never actually get to a patient. And it's so important that UK patients get the same access as patients in the rest of the world.
The UK is very important. It has a strong science base, world-class clinicians, and most importantly, the patient in the UK are willing to take part in clinical trials, very often for the benefit of others. In fact, almost 20% of patients in the UK are willing to take part in cancer trials. Also, we have the National Institute of Health Research, which facilitates research within the National Health Service. My hope is that we complete the circle and make sure every patient who could benefit from drugs available, they can access these drugs in a timely manner. Roche is committed to identifying and developing medicines for all types of cancers. Roche has one of the strongest pipelines in industry. Also, we partner with many academics and other industry to identify new medicines for cancer. Personally, I am very optimistic about the future. We will deliver fantastic medicines for many of these patients, and I hope soon we'll be able to reach a cure.